welcome to the stream. Everything is up and ready to go. Alright, welcome to the first episode of the Noah Best Perspective. Excited to have everybody on, get an opportunity to talk about current events and all kinds of things that are going on in our world today. Just want to take the moment, thank you guys for tuning in, appreciate you. Let's get started. So we got a couple of things I wanted to cover today. A lot of different things, different articles, different things. Also, we wanted to kind of get to with things that are going on in today's world. But we first want to talk a little bit about what we're doing. The goal is just talk about what's going on and kind of give a perspective and understand the situations a little bit deeper and help myself learn what's going on and also you guys watching. We want to take things from both sides. We're not going to be we're going to try to be as bipartisan as possible, present multiple sides of the argument. Ultimately, it is about my perspective and what I see. So if you disagree with me, that's okay. I want people to disagree with me because I want to talk and we can discuss and have conversation about what's going on, as we can kind of get to that point where we can talk to each other and not be upset and angry with everybody about everything. So one of the things, I guess, kind of tuning right into it, this morning. Actually, it was pretty much on the time I was on my way to work. There was a shooting at a Dallas ICE facility. This is a CNN U.S. article talking about the situation. One detainee was killed and 2 more were injured. No law enforcement ICE agents were injured or killed in the incident, but the shooter ended up ending his life after he committed this attack. There's a lot of pointing fingers from the Trump administration and people in there, but also in general. We got some information on that, but still kind of an ongoing thing. Right now there's 2 still in the hospital, 2 detainees that are in critical condition. Hopefully they can make it through there. Praying for a swift recovery for them as well. And hopefully we can stop with this nasty rhetoric, blaming other people and everybody. We just need to get along and stop egging on this stuff. It doesn't really help anybody when we're talking nasty about each other and making things about ourselves and scoring political points. It doesn't help anybody. It just makes everybody more angry at each other. This morning, there's a tweet from the FBI Director Kash Patel, 7 a.m. local time, which is 8 a.m. for me. I'm on the east. An individual fired multiple rounds at a Dallas, Texas ICE facility, killing 1, wounding several others before taking his own life. FBI, Department of Homeland Security, and the ATF are on the ground with Dallas PD and state authorities. While the investigation is ongoing, an initial review of the evidence shows an ideological motive behind this attack. One of the unspent shell casings recovered was engraved with the phrase anti-ICE. More updates will be forthcoming. These despicable and politically motivated attacks against law enforcement are not a one-off. We are only miles from Prairieland, Texas, where just 2 months ago an individual ambushed a separate ICE facility targeting their officers. It has to end, and the FBI and our partners will lead these investigative efforts to see to it that those who target our law enforcement are pursued and brought to the fullest extent of justice. Thankfully, no law enforcement personnel were injured. Please pray for the injured and deceased. With that situation still ongoing, we'll kind of move on to some other things that have kind of been talked about recently. Have hit the news recently on some different things. We're gonna back and we're gonna talk about this TYLENOL situation. So this tweet went viral this morning in regards to the Trump administration announcement, I believe it was Tuesday, about their efforts to fight autism and their claim of Tylenol being and acetaminophen being a major cause while being taken while women are pregnant, and how its effects can have. But this tweet from from 2017. This one's from March 7th, 2017. We actually don't recommend using any of our products while pregnant. Thank you for taking the time to voice your concerns today. And this tweet has gone very viral, with a lot of people talking about it, in the Trump administration pointing it out. Even the Department of Health and Human Services pointed that out. We couldn't even pull up that tweet today. HHS.gov. I believe they retweeted it as well, somewhere on this page, I believe. Now, not 100% certain on that tweet. Yeah, here it is. They tweeted that out. No caption needed. As everyone the past couple days have been claiming that the Trump administration has no evidence for this information, they're taking that to say that Tylenol also is telling everybody that they don't recommend using any of their products while pregnant, which is basically what the Trump administration had said. In a sense, we can even go right to the White House website itself. The Trump administration does not believe popping more pills is always the answer for better health. There is mounting evidence finding a connection between acetaminophen use during pregnancy and autism, and that's why the administration is courageously issuing this new health guidance. Additionally, the Trump administration is approving a new treatment option that has been found to improve some autism symptoms. President Trump pledged to address America's skyrocketing rates of autism, and his team is deploying gold standard science to deliver on this pledge. We will not be deterred in these efforts, as we know millions across America are grateful. And that's from Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt. They announced major progress, root cause of autism. Here's one of the facts that they're claiming. Evidence suggests acetaminophen use in pregnant women, especially late in pregnancy, may cause long-term neurological effects in their children. Here's some different studies they're citing here. We can look further into those in a moment. There's the Dean of the Faculty, Harvard. Colleagues and I recently conducted a rigorous review funded by a grant by the National Institutes of Health of the potential risks of acetaminophen use during pregnancy. We found evidence of an association between exposure to acetaminophen during pregnancy and increased incidence of neurodevelopmental disorders in children. Harvard University using acetaminophen during pregnancy may increase children's autism and ADHD risk. From Johns Hopkins, taking Tylenol during pregnancy associated with elevated risk for autism. Mount Sinai studies supports evidence that prenatal acetaminophen uses may be linked to increase of autism and ADHD. In 2021, an international consensus statement highlighted a call for precautionary action recommending that pregnant women minimize exposure to acetaminophen by using the lowest effective dose for the shortest possible time. So there's been a lot of information that's come out about it, and from my angle and what I'm seeing is it has been an issue, and even on many bottles of Tylenol, I don't have one personally to look at right now, but from photos and tweets I've seen, we can look at the Tylenol label. See if this is here. This is the FDA Tylenol label. This is all the requirements for that. I think we should be able to read it if I can find one that's the right size for us to read. Here we go. This is Tylenol 8 hour. I don't know if I want Tylenol 8 hour. It's Tylenol arthritis. I guess we can... We'll look at this. If pregnant or breastfeeding, ask a health professional before use. That's the thing that a lot of people are pointing out as well on a lot of them. It's on all the other bottles. We'd have to look specifically at each one, but I'm going to go with just this one here that I found from a quick search on Google. That is the White House on that situation. That was an announcement from the other day, but here's the Yale School of Public Health. We'll kind of look at this and see their perspective on that. What the research says about autism and acetaminophen use during pregnancy. This is updated September 22nd. What? This does not make any sense. This is published that day, updated that day. Has U.S. Health and Human Services Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. has made finding possible cause of autism a priority for research. In May 2025, there's a $50 million autism data science initiative. And in September, issued a warning about the potential link between acetaminophen and autism. Spent years investigating, does acetaminophen use during pregnancy cause autism? We do not know yet for sure whether acetaminophen causes autism. Multiple observational studies conducted across different populations have shown associations between frequent and long-term use of acetaminophen in pregnancy and some negative effects on a child's neurodevelopment. However, not all studies are specific about autism. Further, there might be other factors related to acetaminophen use, such as fevers, which are known to cause increased rates of neurodevelopment delays. Genetics and other medical conditions also need to be considered. And this is where I kind of am understanding that it is more of a precautionary thing where they are not 100%. So they're saying, hey, let's stop and see what happens. Now, unfortunately, that's going to leave a correlation, does not cause causation fallacy there, where if everyone stops taking acetaminophen while pregnant, we'll never, and then there's kids with less autism, we could just say that could be the reason, but there could be something else. So we'll have to see from there. And what research have you done or are you currently doing on this issue? international collaborative project that will evaluate the association between acetaminophen use of pregnancy and 6 specific domains of neurodevelopment assessed from early to late childhood. Other factors: medical conditions, medical treatments. All right. There's no equivalent alternative at the moment. So that's talking about alternative pain relievers that women can use during pregnancy. Ibuprofen are recommended to be avoided during pregnancy, especially after 20 weeks of gestation. Existing guidelines may be challenged if new and stronger research data emerge that suggest potential risks during pregnancy and child development. These are nuances in medical safety communication. We don't want people to fear using a treatment. We also need to be mindful about limiting potential harms and risks. In this case, frequent and prolonged use of acetaminophen during pregnancy might potentially be a risk. So that's the ultimate thing there. Risk factors: autism. Autism is a highly complex disorder. As of now, researchers have not been able to pinpoint a single causal genetic or environmental factor. Hence, it is premature to declare we know for sure what is causing autism. Continuing research into both genes and environmental effects on autism development is important and needed. And yes, that's from what I understand from actually listening to the presentation, which I'm not sure how many people actually did, but I did listen to the thing, and it didn't seem to me, yes, there was a lot of claiming, but that was mostly by President Trump, who does not study the human body by any means and has never. So he directly claimed it. Everyone else kind of alluded to the fact that there is a risk. And that's also what it's saying, to alert physicians that there's a risk. That is what they're doing. They're telling everyone, hey, you take Tylenol while you're pregnant, there are risks involved, so please avoid it if needed. Only take if absolutely necessary. And that from there I understand, right? Putting a risk out, that's the job of the FDA, that's the job of the Department of Health and Human Services. They're doing their job, they're doing their research. A lot of people are skeptical, as RFK Jr. has had different opinions about autism and the factors that are involved with that in the past. It's been a very controversial topic. However, we have to wait and see from further research, and that's what the idea of that presentation as well was, to take people like, hey, we have this risk involved. Let's slow down using that during pregnancy, but let's also take and wait and look towards the research as we find out more. And we're going to continue directing money and stuff to research to be able to build on that program. And that's really what I'm understanding from that. One of the other things that's been super breaking, honestly, incredibly terrible news. Conservative commentator Charlie Kirk was assassinated on Wednesday, September 10th at 12:23 local time in the university at Utah Valley University. And this is a AP News timeline article. It's kind of going over all the events of what happened. So August 29th, there was ahead of his visit, there's a Change.org petition started to try to prevent Charlie from speaking at the university. This university affirmed that it has a commitment to free speech and constructive dialogue and all that. And then at 11:51 a.m., school surveillance captured the suspected shooter walking the campus, according to charging documents. Kirk starts his event in the Fountain Courtyard in the university's Orem campus. At 12:20 p.m., Kirk is taking questions from an audience member about gun violence when a shot rings out. Authorities say the shot came from a distant roof. It's about 150 to 200 yards away from my understanding. A Utah Valley University police officer states, Alpha 34, we have shots fired. Charlie Kirk is down. According to a broadcast opening from the department's dispatch line made available by OpenMHZ, which is probably megahertz. And then a couple minutes later, the FBI arrive, according to Kash Patel. At this time, videos begin to appear on social media that show Kirk speaking into a handheld microphone while sitting under a tent, emblazoned with the slogans, the American Comeback Tour, I believe, is supposed to be there, but, and prove me wrong. A single shot rings out. Kirk reaches up his right hand as a large volume of blood gushes from the left side of his neck. It was a terrible video, for anyone who was unfortunate to have seen it. I don't recommend seeking that out. It was very, very tragic. The UVU issues an alert that says a single shot was fired. It also says a suspect is in custody. However, that was proven later to be incorrect. And at 2:40 p.m., Trump announced on social media that Charlie Kirk passed away in the hospital. Mayor David Young says the suspected shooter remains at large. That is after we were under the impression the suspect was in custody. Patel says on social media that the subject for the horrific shooting today that took the life of Charlie Kirk is now in custody. Which also proves to be incorrect. So there's 2 incorrect arrests on people that were not the actual, most likely were not the actual shooter. At 4:30 during a news conference, authorities confirmed that Kirk was brought to a hospital and he died there. And they said no one is custody and the suspect remains in large. That's after Kash Patel says they have somebody in custody. At almost 6 p.m., he posts that the suspect in custody has been released after interrogation by law enforcement. Investigation continues and will continue to release information in interest of transparency. And the time frame then, nobody knows, but the alleged shooter, Tyler Robinson, sends a text to his roommate that says, "Look under my keyboard. Under a note, it says, I had the opportunity to take out Charlie Kirk, and I'm going to take it," according to the charging documents. Robinson and his partner continued to text, whereas a partner appeared to be shocked, according to the court documents and all that information. The day after, at 7:55, the FBI is looking for a person of interest and released a series of photos showing a person wearing the hat. We'll pull up these photos here that they sent. These are all the photos where you can really see who it is in the photos there. The police released a video of a person racing across the roof of the building from where the authorities say the shot was fired, dropping down to the ground and walking off campus. And in that video, he does walk with a limp. I don't have the video. I don't have that to show right now, but I did watch the video before this. The family persuades Robinson to meet with a family friend who's retired sheriff's deputy, who persuades Robinson to turn himself in, according to court documents. At 8:02, Washington County Sheriff Nate Brooksby receives a call from a retired detective and a friend of the Robinson family, who says he knows the shooter's identity and they're trying to convince him to come in voluntarily. Then about at 9 p.m., Robinson appears quiet and somber when he turns himself in with his parents at the Washington County Sheriff's Office. Robinson agreed to surrender as long as it was done peacefully. Then they announce he's in custody, probable cause, felony discharge of firearm, all the different charges brought forth. It should be a little bit further down here. Patel reveals on the Fox News show Fox and Friends that DNA on a towel, which was found on the rifle that was left in the woods. They did find that one there not too long after that, which I don't know why they didn't mention it later in this timeline, early in the timeline, but on the 16th at 12 p.m., prosecutors announced that Robinson has been charged with aggravated murder, felony discharge of a firearm, and obstructing justice. Charged with witness tampering because he allegedly told his partner to delete their text messages and to stay silent if questioned by police. According to Gray, the Utah County Attorney, the charges could result in the death penalty if Robinson is convicted. And most of these are elevated charges. I listened to the prosecution and the court information, and they're all elevated charges due to, I believe, I can't remember the exact term. I have to find it off the top of my head. I'm not remembering it right now, but they are elevated charges, which could result in more sentencing, but most likely the death penalty will be. The state has announced they are pursuing the death penalty. This is the video it's talking about. The charges against Melanie, so it says he will appoint a defense attorney. And then the students return back to campus. And that's it for the timeline of events. That situation is unfortunate, and it is a result of the inability for us as common friends and fellow Americans to be able to sit down and speak with each other and have dislike for what other people are saying, which is fine to disagree with what people are saying. I'd be happy if anyone disagrees with me and wants to talk about it. However, you don't win an argument by ending the life of the person you're trying to argue with. You don't win that. You don't put your point across. It's better to speak and talk, and if people don't subscribe to your opinions, that's okay. That's the whole point. You're not going to change everybody's mind. Not everybody's mind is wanting to be changed. So you don't take those things in your hand, and that is an unfortunate tragedy that has taken a father away from 2 kids and left behind the mother to take care of them, which is an unfortunate situation. But I want to kind of direct to the final segment of our show today. I want to be able to talk about. I'm trying to read 2 books a week. I'm not on track right now. I'm actually close to finishing my second book from last week. But the first book I read last week is called If I Die. It's written by Vernon Brewer, who is, if we want to go and flip through the bio page so I can remember exactly the name of his organization. He is from World Help. I believe he's the founder of World Help. He's the founder of World Help, a Christian humanitarian organization serving the physical and spiritual needs of people in impoverished communities around the world. World Help gives help for today and hope for tomorrow through humanitarian aid, education, and sustainability projects, and spiritual development programs such as Bible distribution and church planning. He's authored a plethora of other books, but this book specifically is called If I Die, Risking Death to Live for Jesus. So it was a very moving book. Each of the chapters is based off of specific countries and what it's like to live as a believing Christian in those countries and the persecution that they go through. And talking about statistics, each of the chapters opens up, if I can find a chapter start page, with like the statistics on there's an organization that ranks, this is the 2020 from Open Door. They rank, for example, Iraq as number 14th in the world of Islamic oppression, very high level of persecution, population of almost 43 million, and 166,000 Christians living there who face torture, abuse. Many are killed for what they believe and they stand up for. That's what this book was about. It's all the people who believe in Jesus and what he's done for them, and then their governments, people in their country, being upset that they have different views and they believe different things than them, and they kill them for it, for following Jesus. The next book I've been reading, I'm getting close. It's by economist Thomas Sowell. Very intriguing book. It's called Applied Economics. This is his revised and enlarged edition. This is a 2008 publish, I believe. I don't know if he has another updated edition of this, but it talks about economics beyond stage one. So looking at where funding comes from, why an idea works or why it doesn't work. Specifically where I'm at right now is talking about housing and insurance, especially in insurance, that when you have insurance, you're more likely to take more risks. It's interesting. And it's talking about the economic impact of a lot of different things. I can go through and kind of give a list real quick of all the things that he kind of touches. It's a good book. I actually thought I was going to only read the first chapter, and then I decided to keep reading as I kept liking it more and more as I got further in. So he talks about politics and economics, kind of the introduction. It's honestly the most important part about his book. If you had to only read one part, I would just read that first chapter. It kind of talks about how a lot of times in American politics, even politics around the world, we kind of look, this sounds good, let's do it. Let's say, for example, we're going to give everyone $100. Just for an example, like, oh, I want $100. $100 is awesome. However, you have to look at, okay, where's the money come from? How on the long term is that going to affect? There's inflation. Where's the money coming from? You have to borrow the money. The government has to borrow it. They have to go into debt, and then that increases the amount of spending every year. Like, there's every political decision has a lot that goes into it, and a lot of times we don't think about it because we're like, oh, this guy's going to do this, and we don't think about what that actually is going to do for us. And that's what this book kind of talks about. But it's talked about politics versus economics, free and unfair labor. It's talking about slavery and different impacts of that, and then on top of that, what happened afterwards and how the economy grew afterwards. The economics of medical care, housing, then risky business, talking about insurance and stuff like that. The economics of immigration, which I haven't gotten to, economics of discrimination, and the economic development of nations. It's an interesting book. I believe Thomas Sowell is still alive. He is 95 years old. This book was originally released, I want to say, in the 80s. And this is an updated book. I don't know the exact release year. I think 2004, updated 2009 is what it looks like in the on the title page there. And then I want to kind of cover real quick the other books I'm going to be reading later in the week as soon as I finish up Applied Economics. The next book I'm going to read is Narrative of the Life of Frederick Douglass, an American Slave, written by Frederick Douglass. From what I've heard, it's a super important book if you want to understand American slavery and the situation that is. I've heard a lot of how it's such an incredible read. It kind of gives an incredible perspective on that whole entire situation. And I was told that almost every American should read this book. So as an American, I'm going to finally read this book. And actually another book that a lot of Americans should read after reading the Constitution. It's important to read if you want to understand that, but the Federalist Papers, the interpretation of that by the writers. We got Alexander Hamilton, James Madison, and John Jay, three important people who helped build our Constitution, our form of government, and everything that we kind of live by, and this is how they defended it. This is important for not only understanding the political scene at the time, it's great for understanding a lot about the way the Constitution was written, why the things are the way they are, what the point of them is. I'm excited to finally get to read more than like 2 or 3 of them. I've read a couple of the Federalist Papers. There's a large series of different things written by the 3 different men mentioned before. Excited to get to this book. And the very, very last thing we want to talk about at the very end is throughout the week, every morning, I like to read some words from the Scripture. Right now, I'm in the Gospels. This past week, I was in Matthew. Matthew chapter 8. Something jumped out to me there, and I thought it was kind of important. I wanted to share it this morning or afternoon. It's 5 o'clock, not the morning. In Matthew 8, it's verses 1 through 4. This is the New King James Version. When he had come, he, as in Jesus, down from the mountain, great multitudes followed him, and behold, a leper came and worshipped him, saying, Lord, if you are willing, you can make me clean. Then Jesus put out his hand and touched him, saying, I am willing, be cleansed. Immediately his leprosy was cleansed, and Jesus said to him, See that you tell no one, but go your way, show yourself to the priest, and offer the gift that Moses commanded as a testimony to them. And that verse kind of jumped to me because a lot of times we live and we do things and we don't think we're going to get what we want. Sometimes you have to ask, and sometimes the answer is yes, sometimes it's no. In that situation, that leper asked Jesus to heal him, and Jesus said, I am willing. And that's kind of a phrase that's kind of stuck with me the last week. He could do whatever he wants. He is the creator of the universe, so you kind of get the opportunity to do whatever you want if you created the universe. And I kind of thought of it in the situation that happened on the 10th with Charlie Kirk, and how no matter what was going on in that situation, we know there's a reason for it. Whether we think it was a good situation or you, like some people I know are praising it, that's not great, but I can't condone that. But ultimately, later in the scriptures also says that all things work together for good by the perfect will of the Father. So ultimately, we don't know why it happened. We just know that someday we'll figure that out in the future. I appreciate you guys tuning in. I would love to hear thoughts, opinions, comment below, put anything in the live stream chat, anything like that. Appreciate you tuning in.